to work and right to rent checks. At the moment, you have no guarantee that those checks have taken place. There's no audit trail that they have. There is no extension to self-employment, where much of the irregular migration, irregular working and illegal happens. Thank you, sir.
Tell the truth, it would help. Just tell the truth. That would help. Yeah.
This isn't a discussion about immigration, it's more about ID cards.
Let him speak, come
Let him
on.
speak.
Wow.
Irregular. See how far I can take it. Anyway, essentially it helps enforcers shrink the haystack. So at the moment we know very little about who is conducting right to work checks and right to rent checks, but we are taking on trust that those are happening. So it's essentially useless at the moment as an enforcement mechanism. If you have the audit trail that those checks have happened, then you can shrink the haystack and prioritise enforcement. That is the principal benefit on enforcement against illegal working. I don't think it is a silver bullet on migration. I think it will certainly help the state in prioritising its enforcement activities. A couple of other points just to wrap up. One on digitally excluded people. I think there was a woman in the middle over there somewhere who was making this case very powerfully. Of course there will have to be backups for people who do not or can't use a smartphone. That is already in the government's plans for this. Finally, on the threat of creep, I, as I said, agree with the threat of creep. I think the problem we have as a country is that we are uniquely centralised and have a uniquely powerful parliament that can just introduce things at whim across the whole country. To my mind, the answer is to decentralise more and put more power and responsibility in the hands of regions and communities so that you are less susceptible to a single source of tyranny taking hold at the centre. To my mind, that is a protection you build separately from having a modern digital identity infrastructure that will make public services work more successfully.
I'm very pro-technology and I think it's really important. So just to the benefits and costs, I would like to see technology harnessed and utilised for the best of humanity, and we can do that. And there are lots of examples of where it can be used in a really efficient, smart way, but it's ring-fenced and protected from the snooping, spying, censorious state. So I'm all for utilising technology, and we should harness it and be much more bullish about the whole thing. But the concerns are not just imaginary, I want to come on to them. But I'd say what I think the other brilliant thing about digital ID is it's going to help us win and convince the public and the demos to get rid of all these technocrats, of a Prime Minister who prefers Davos to Westminster in his own words, and the cut and thrust of democracy. So that's why it's going to be really good for that. But no time for that. But let's remember the Horizon, the post office IT scandal. Not only did it happen, not only was it just breaches, but people went to prison. Let's remember that whilst they cite examples like Estonia and New South Wales with a digital driving licence, we've seen loads of people blagging it. Criminals do it all the time. The public are always the ones who suffer. They have no control over that. We've seen a situation from whether it's IVF records or the blood scandal or Heathrow being grounded or a whole array of things. The fact that my mum and 3.5 million other older people don't on bank online, can't log in. They say we'll make provisions. You've got to be a certain type of citizen. That's why we have a digital Bill of Rights together. And that's why we're saying it's not just saying no to a state-forced digital ID, but it's insisting on ring-fencing protections. Like you have to have a warrant, which actually Tiffany's brilliant book, it's an opus about the private individual and the state. There are precedents set about an Englishman's home and a woman is their castle, and you can't just go in there and invade it without a warrant, and you have to give someone a reason to it, or listen to their phone calls, or read their mail. In the same way, we need to have provisions in the technological field. But we cannot allow a situation where we've seen, and we have things like the net zero shutdowns and blackouts across Portugal and Spain, and then people not being able to log in. There's practical concerns, but the big question, ladies and gentlemen, is we stand on the shoulders of those who've given so much for our rights to privacy, our rights of conscience, our liberties and our freedom and our rights. And when are we going to let technocrats that we've seen through the lockdown files and the Twitter files censored us, sent spies on us like the Rapid Response Unit and the Counter Disinformation Unit, and they're always talking about misinformation and disinformation, calling people criminals, the Home Office, before they'd even been convicted? Are we going to allow these people or any of the others to be able to have a centralised control over all of our data, a biometric surveillance state, or are we going to be British and show the world that we don't have to do it, we do things differently here and give an inspiration? I'd say let's go the digital Bill of Rights, say no to this and push all the way through, and let's make Britain free together.